Okay, welcome to day 2 of the MicroChannel Dynamics 365 virtual event, today being November 12, 2020. It's great to see everyone here, and we hope that today's agenda will give you all some terrific insights into Business Central and Microsoft technologies. Joining me on today's session is Amanda Clegg. Amanda's done a wonderful job organizing things leading up to and including yesterday and today's events. Welcome and hello, Amanda. You still alive?
Yes, welcome everyone and thanks for joining us.
Excellent. Also joining us is someone that I think makes Business Central look so effortless and smooth. Certainly one of the best Business Central solution architects you'll ever meet. Hello, Karen Blake. Karen, how are you?
Hi, Simon. How are you?
Very good, thank you. So, as we know, Business Central is a Microsoft product, and in fact, it's part of Microsoft's 365 family. Business Central actually takes center stage in a growing ecosystem that includes Office suite of products that I'm sure you're all familiar with, the acclaimed Sales Professional platform, also known as CRM, as well as the Power Platform range, including things like Power BI and other Power Apps. You've also got access, if you're a Business Central user, to Microsoft's own AppSource. AppSource is an amazing marketplace and it's growing rapidly. Currently over 3,500 extensions already available for download. On AppSource, you'll find extensions ranging from analytical tools, IoT, Internet of Things, AI and machine learning to operation and supply chain, e-commerce and point of sale connectors, and so much more. Today, Karen will show us some great features in the latest version of Business Central. We're going to see some really innovative ways of using Business Central with other tools as well, such as Microsoft Teams, Office 365, and much, much more. Karen will also be highlighting new ways of seeing your data and tools to help you gain insights across multiple companies in Business Central. As always, we'd love to hear your questions, so please use the chat window to message us with anything you'd like to ask about Business Central. We'll be collecting those questions and answering them at the end of Karen's showcase. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Karen Blake. Karen, thank you so much for joining and presenting to us today. The stage is yours.
Thanks for the introduction, Simon. So without further ado, as Simon said, we'll move on into the presentation itself. So what we wanted to talk to you about first today was Dynamics 365 Sales Professional. Now, Dynamics 365 Sales Professional, you may have heard referred to as CRM. You might have heard of its slightly bigger brother, D365 Sales Enterprise, or any other of the customer service or customer engagement apps that are available with Microsoft. So Sales Professional is an application that allows you to streamline your sales process. So it's got all of that traditional functionality that you would expect from a CRM or a sales processing tool. It allows you to automate your manual tasks and better share information. So also being part of the Microsoft platform allows us to share information through things such as OneDrive or SharePoint directly between users in either Sales Professional and Business Central. You can also gain visual insights into your sales process through the sales activity dashboards. Over and above all of that, one of the key things is its seamless integration with Microsoft Office and also with Dynamics 365 Business Central. Sales Professional itself comes with a whole lot of ready-to-use business processes that you can use to track things such as your leads through to your opportunities and then those opportunities into quotes and orders, depending on how it is that you need to run that process within your organisation. So a lead to cash process using Sales Professional would go through the process of collecting the lead, qualifying the lead, developing it and proposing a solution. So putting forward a quote and then closing that out as an order. It's at that point where we look at bringing that information into Business Central as either an order, if it needs to be fulfilled from the warehouse, or as an invoice, if that's the final part that we need to take care of. Sales Professional itself is for organisations that don't need a full-fledged enterprise application. So when you don't have the need for a lot of custom entities or a lot of customisation around your sales processes. And it's for organisations who are looking to improve those processes, but in a more simplified manner. It allows you still to better manage and track your customers and contacts, as well as your activities, tasks and appointments associated with them. You can also create and convert opportunities all the way through to invoices in that sales cycle. So what does it cost? Compared to a Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise license, it is significantly cheaper. So a Sales Professional license or a full license at $89.20 per user per month is comparable to what you'll be currently paying for Business Central at $96 per month. So if you were considering using the relationship management in Business Central, it would actually be a good idea to consider using Sales Professional instead, because it will give you that more holistic solution. The other option is to attach it to an existing Business Central user. So if you attach Sales Professional to a full Business Central user, for example, it is $27.50 extra. So what Microsoft have done, have recognized that you've purchased a base Dynamics 365 user license, and they allow you to add the additional functionality at a lower cost. So that would be for anyone who's currently using Business Central or any of the other Microsoft qualifying apps, which may be something like field service, depending on your organisation. To give you the underlying detail as to what separates Sales Professional from Sales Enterprise, most of you will be aware of what a CRM system is capable of. But the important differences between the Sales Professional and the Sales Enterprise come down to the things that I mentioned earlier. You are limited in the number of custom entities that you can create. Now, that's typically not an issue for someone who's using it directly for a sales process, but if you're using Dynamics 365 Field Service or Project Automation or something else as well, you might end up with custom entities and things like that that you're bringing in. Also, if you want to bring data in from other sources into the common data service that Simon mentioned earlier in our overview, those custom entities might increase. There's also about those business processes. So you can have some custom business processes, but you are limited as to how many you can have in Sales Professional. So it's more about limiting the customization rather than limiting the core functions that you've got access to. So what I'm going to do now is to jump into Business Central with a little bit of Sales Professional thrown in just for good measure. Just going to switch my windows over. There we go for the moment. And I'll bring this up over here. Okay.
That's awesome, Karen. We can see Business Central.
I was going to ask, and I thought, hopefully someone will tell me if you can't. So excellent. So I've just popped over into Business Central, and there's a few things that I wanted to go through before we get into some of the cool stuff like the Teams integration that we've been talking about. So at the moment, I'm looking at Business Central. For those of you who are already using it or have already gone through the recent updates, there's a few little things that are different. You might notice that the font, the user interface looks a little bit smoother, calmer. Everything's been taken out of all caps, which I actually quite like. It took me a while to realize what had actually happened there, but they're the sorts of usability enhancements that Microsoft continue to do based on user feedback. So some of the things that I'll point out today as we go through are new features that Microsoft have added purely based on customer feedback. So what I wanted to do in here was have a bit of a look at what we've got from a sales professional option. So if I have a look at what I've got in my teams, excuse me, in my teams at the moment, you'll see that I've got a whole lot of different apps that I can add in. I've got Dynamics 365, I've got Business Central, I've got a whole lot of things that I can access now through Microsoft Teams directly. What I'm looking at here is the same sales activity dashboard that I'd be looking at in the web-based client, just rendering it through my Teams app so I don't have to go anywhere else. You'll see here that I've got my customers, my accounts and my contacts and all of my opportunities. These active accounts or customers are coupled to Business Central through the Common Data Service. There's also an additional solution that extends that Common Data Service integration to allow for things like the sales orders and invoices that I mentioned before. One of the new things that they have added to that integration is the ability to view the item quantity available whilst you're in sales. So that was a nice little addition to that. But you can see from the ecosystem that it really brings everything together. When I'm sitting in Business Central, I can also access things directly from Dynamics 365 as well. So if I just simply type it there, I've got my cases, my products, all of those sorts of things that I can set up really quite quickly. And it's all standard and out of the box. So with that said, I'm going to move into Business Central a little bit more now, and we're going to have a look at the new Teams functionality that has been added. So it's an add-on for Teams, which allows you to view things within Business Central. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new vendor, and then I'm going to request an approval, and then I'm going to get a little bit impatient for waiting for that approval. So if I come in here to my vendors, and I'll just create a basic business-to-business vendor, and I created them as Microsoft earlier when I was going through this, so I'll stick with that. See, I've got an approval option up the top here that I can request an approval. So I've invoked one of the standard workflow approval processes that comes with Business Central to set this up. So anytime someone creates a new vendor, it will be blocked from purchasing until it is approved. So this is just one of the controls that you can use within Business Central. It's also allowed for a lot more interaction with things such as Power Automate and Flow. As you can see here, we can create our own workflows using Flow, and the connectors to there are there as standard as well if we want to. So I'm just going to send a standard approval request. And now I've done that from the wrong window. It's telling me that I switched my windows around. Here we go. I'm going to go in and do that again. I was in the one who's allowed to approve them straight away. So simple process, and we'll pop in the name again. Microsoft's doing a lot of business. We've got a sales professional, a Business Central, and maybe an Office license with them that we're tracking through different vendor cards. So if I send the approval request this time, it'll tell me that an approval request has been sent. So what I've got here is a link to this particular page. It's sitting here as an unapproved vendor at the moment. I can't use it. So I might want to use this vendor quite urgently, even though my boss or my approver has received an email about this or might even be sitting in Business Central. I might want to bring it to their attention a little bit quicker than that. So what I can do is I can just copy the link. Once I've copied the link, I can go back into Teams and I can paste that link within here. So what that actually does is it's recognized that that's a Business Central link, and the way that it does that is through the Business Central application. If I click on the little icon down here, it tells me that I'm currently connected to Business Central as Megan, and yep, that's all good. That was what I was expecting. So with that in there, what I can actually do is I'm just going to split my screens and bring up my approver on the other side. So just bear with me a moment while I do that.
So Karen will now be two people, the person raising the vendor card for request to approve,
That's
and
exactly
Karen
right.
will also play the part of her boss, approving it.
That's right.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. No, we will get there. It's just putting them side by side is always fun when you've got a lot of things open. I put them as the different colors to make them a little bit easier for me, which has worked to some extent, which has been great. So the different profiles and things like that that I've got in Teams. And of course, this always seems a lot easier to do.
So Karen,
there we go.
There.
We're sitting there now.
Beautiful. Yes, we can see both of your screens now. That's awesome.
Excellent. The magic of technology. All right. So what I've got here is the Business Central link that I wanted to send through for them to have a look at. And depending on how I've got that rendered within here, it's going to pop up with the details and things like that that I need to be able to use them within Business Central. It's going to prompt me to sign in if I haven't been in Business Central for a while. When you're using Active Directory and things like that, if you're using standard authentication or pass-through authentication, it's not going to ask you to do those sign-ins once you're in there. So we get that approval from there. We get those approval requests, and what I can do is go in there and open those. So if I click on the details that I've got here, it will actually take me into the document. So I can sit in here within Teams and open the documents themselves, and I can action those from within here directly without going anywhere else. So I can approve that, get it over with, and get Megan happy, and she can go and do her purchase order. The other sorts of things that we can do in here, I'm just going to go back to a prior conversation about an inventory item as well. So we had the vendor approval. You can go in there and you can do your approval, but you can also pass through things such as an item record or something where you just want someone to check something quickly for you. So you can send those through. Refer to these as deep links within Teams. So for example, I've just got an inventory item here that it was, can you please just have a look at this and review the price? And over here, the same things. I can detail, have a look at that inventory record, check the pricing on it, anything else that I want. I can even go in here and I can edit it. So if I decide that, yep, they might be selling it a little bit too cheap at $442, I can update that to $475, and that will actually save that back to the record as well. So it's not just for approvals, it can actually be used to edit records as well. So if you're setting up something quickly and someone else needs to add some information, it's a great way to do that. The next thing that I wanted to take you through was the standard smart lists that have become available in Business Central over the last little while. Now, smart lists are lists that are combining one or more tables together to give you an overall view of something. When I have a look at my items, for example, within Business Central, I've got a whole lot of options down my navigation pane here. I've got blocked items, item by location, negative quantities, etc. Items by location is probably one of the more common ones that we get asked for. So this has been included as a standard smart list within Business Central. It's linking those tables together for you. You can still come in here and filter by the different location codes and everything like that that you might want to do. So if I just pick my main location, I think I've got one inventory item in there, which I do, and I can also just remove that filter. Like most lists within Business Central, you can also export them to Excel. So if you're looking around Business Central, you're using your filters, have a look at the all drop-down list. You'll notice it in a few different areas, such as around the customers, the items, the vendors, and a few other places as well. And these keep getting added to. So a whole lot of these came in, or probably not last release, the release before, so 2019 wave 2, and they've increased in number since then as well. So a good one here is the customer and salesperson. So you can easily see which salesperson codes are linked to them, what their emails are, without having to go and get those additional records. So it's a nice way to have a look at some data within Business Central. The next thing that I wanted to take you through today was the company hub. So I'm just going to open a new window here and go into one of my other demo databases. The reason I'm doing this is because I've got multiple environments through the company hub linked together. So logging into this one here, you'll see that I've got an option for Company Hub. I'm logged into a company as Kronos Australia, but if I have a quick look at my Company Hub here, I've got access to a whole lot of other companies. These are not just the same companies that I've got access to through my drop down and my settings. So my security access companies, which are all the ones that are sitting up here under my companies. However, Simon was a little surprised that I'd also connected myself to his demo environment as well. So I've connected to other companies and popped them in here, and I can actually go and open those, security permitting, of course. So from that Company Hub, I don't need to go and change companies, change environments or anything like that. I can just directly link to a company sitting somewhere else. Now, the good thing about this is probably more generally related to those of you who might have environments that are not in one jurisdiction. So, for example, you might have a US environment, you might have an Australian environment, so they're not going to be on the same tenant name. This is where the Company Hub really comes into play. You can see I've got some nice little summary figures here. One of the things that Microsoft have been talking about is bringing these or putting more information on here, and they're open to ideas about this. This is one of the areas that Microsoft specifically said to me they would like some more feedback on as to what would be really useful to have from a user's perspective. You'll see that I've got these here sitting in a hierarchy. If I go in and have a look at the environment links that I've set up, my companies that I've got here, it's actually grouped together. So I can set up quite a detailed hierarchy in there if I wanted to for those different group codes. And I could set my security accordingly, and no one's going to be able to access anything that they shouldn't be able to. So it's actually a really nice way to just bring all of that information together. Some of the other things that have just come into Business Central that I know people are going to like that I wanted to mention were things like having longer item descriptions. Little things like that, I think, increase the usability of the product, and they're all in relation to things that have been asked for from users. I'm just going to take a moment and jump back to the slides. There are a few things there that I wanted to show you. So we've had a bit of a look at a few things in Business Central. What I wanted to point out was some of the access that you've got to Microsoft resources. So Simon covered off a little bit of this earlier on in terms of what you could do on AppSource, but Microsoft have a whole lot of other resources that are available as well across their suite of products. So Documents is a great place to start. What you've got from Documents is the documentation on the product itself. So for example, it's where you can find a complete list of everything that's new and planned for Business Central. It's got all of the topics there, it's got access to overview guides, but what's also there is Microsoft Learning. So you've got access to the documents, but from Microsoft Docs, you can also get access to the Learning Center. So there is a whole lot of collateral and information and videos and walkthroughs of processes that are available there for you. Anyone who's using Business Central should go and have a look, have a browse through, and you can pick them by topic. The videos are actually broken down. It's quite handy to be able to do that. One of the other things I mentioned previously was BC Ideas. Now, I purposely put this one up on the screen because of the idea that's being suggested. The first one that comes up at the moment is the dimension correction tool. So there's been a little bit about being able to correct dimensions after posting. So this is an example of something that was suggested by users, voted for, 255 votes, it got reviewed, and now it's been planned for a release. So these are the sorts of usability enhancements that we're really talking about when we're talking about Business Central these days. It's all about the end user experience. What I wanted to move on to next was a little bit of an introduction into Popdock. We had a look at the smart list or the standard smart lists that were available within Business Central just a moment ago. But what Popdock does is it really takes that list functionality or list capability to the next level. Popdock is a tool for the doers. It's not an analytical business intelligence tool. It is there for people who need access to information that might be disjointed. And it might not be disjointed from even an application perspective. It might be that you want to join a customer to a vendor and see what their balance is overall. Those sorts of things that we're talking about with Popdock. So Popdock is a list-based reporting tool. It's a bit of a universal query engine. You can get easy data access for anyone on all of your data. So you can build you can build custom connectors for it, but there is a whole suite of them available as standard as well. So what I said previously as well was that it's not a business intelligence tool. It is more for those doers in the organisation who want to see some information. So with Popdock, what you do is you can sign up for a trial. And what it does is it allows you to connect through directly to Business Central. If I just mute that myself. So you can log in with your Business Central account. You can set up an account within Popdock itself. It will give you a 30-day trial license. So if you're currently a user of Business Central, you can jump in there. What it allows you to do is separate things through separate tabs. So you can have different lists or different groups of lists in each area of the application. This is an example of sales invoices, but it's not just sales invoices, this particular one. It allows those sales invoice headers to be linked through to the sales invoice lines. It allows you to quickly drag and drop different columns of information and sort things out the way that you want them to be. So you can go in and just quickly change things with a checkbox, sort them around, and also add any of the additional columns that have been exposed as part of that web service query as well. So when Popdock installs, it creates a whole lot of web services that get connected to Business Central or are exposed from Business Central that Popdock uses to connect to. You can use a single user instance with Popdock if you want to call that information. However, you will need access to at least view the information within Business Central, such as a team member license to do so. What you're seeing here is a combination of both the header and the line items for a sales invoice, plus the commission amounts on those individual line items for those sales invoices. You can also do grouping and totals. So what they've done here, or what they're showing you here, is grouping them by those different city codes, which allows you quickly to see things in a tabulated format turn into more of a report format. You can also add filters to the data as well. So similar to what you can do in Business Central, however, this is for data that's not necessarily only across Business Central. It could be across other applications as well. So you'll see here that it's a simple filter looking for a greater than a particular amount. It will filter those and then return them to you. So think of Popdock as that query tool providing the list information, but it allows you to join tables together, which is where it becomes powerful for those end users who are looking for data that might not all reside in the one place within Business Central or Sales Professional or any of your other applications. You can also do combinations of filters as they're currently showing you here. So you can also drill down into the information depending on how much detail you've actually brought in. So you can see here that it's got the header and then the line information shown neatly underneath. And as you scroll through those records, the corresponding line items will come through as well. Again, you can add different fields to those if you want to, and any of the information can be exported, but probably one of the things about Popdock is that it's up to you what data you want to display. So within Business Central itself, we've got great lists and filters, but most people will end up using a reporting tool such as Jet is really quite common, and also things like Power BI. Power BI will also allow you to do these sorts of queries, but Popdock is really intended to be that end user tool. So with the end user tool that you've got there, it pretty much allows you to bring it all together. I'm just going to move up here a little bit for where we get into Business Central itself. So from a Business Central perspective, all of those lists that you create within Popdock can also be made available within Business Central as well. So all of the information that you've got in there allows you to, just pause that and start again, allows you to view it within Business Central as well. So those same lists that you had, you can see them, sales invoice, same columns, any of those, but they might be across a whole lot of different areas. So they might be across finance, projects, but you'll notice on this one, they're also across Salesforce and Zendesk. So not only can we be bringing in that Business Central information, Popdock really comes into its own when you want to bring information in from those external applications as well. And that's where people will find that most useful. So we wanted to introduce that to you today just to give you a little bit of an idea as to what other reporting tools are out there that are not necessarily full business intelligence or analytical tools, but give users the tools that they need on a day-to-day basis to access their information. What I wanted to show you was to go and have a look at Popdock itself. So when we go in and have a look at popdock.com, you'll see here that there are a whole lot of connectors that are there out of the box. So all of these connectors are available without you having to build them. You'll see that there's Business Central, Dynamics GP for any GP users that are on the call. eBay is under development, and this just keeps getting bigger and bigger, this list. So you'll see that there's some that are marked as popular, Salesforce, SQL Server, those sorts of things. So if you're managing tickets through Zendesk, for example, taking payments through Stripe, you can have those payments in Stripe sitting next to your cash receipts in Business Central through a list in Popdock. So that's the reporting tool Popdock, which is really just that query list tool that most end users love to use. They can get access to the information they need quickly and easily.
I'll quickly wrap up, and I got to say, I'm absolutely amazed at the investment and effort that Microsoft continue to make in Business Central. It's fast become, I guess, such a seamless and comprehensive cloud solution. And so, having all these, I guess, global community developers hop on board and create such a wonderful array of add-ons that you'll find in the Microsoft App Source, by the way. And just noting, and similar to the Apple ecosystem, there's a lot of checks that go into place before these products reach Microsoft App Source. And the reason that is obviously so Microsoft and you, the consumer, can be certain that when you download one of these tools and put it into your Business Central environment, it's going to work. And you can also be assured that when the updates from Microsoft are pushed out into your Business Central system, that those add-ons will continue to work without any interruptions. Microsoft have done an amazing job in putting that app source together, and and it's great to see the current list of 3,500 apps continuing to grow at rapid pace. So again, thank you very much, Karen, for that showcase.